Hi, welcome to Life Uninterrupted. I'm Brian. We've received a lot of questions and comments about the modifications we've made to our RV. It's a 2008 Winnebago Class A gas coach. And one of the things I wanted to do when we first set out, or before we first set out, was really make the coach as livable and as comfortable as possible. I made some of the upgrades over time this past year, some of the upgrades I made before we even left. And, in no particular order, just going to go through all those, let you know what we've done and how we like them and if we do them all over again. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to start today with one of the most significant upgrades and probably one of the most expensive upgrades, certainly in terms of the equipment and all the accessories needed to make this system functional, and that is our power system, or our off-grid power system, as I like to call it. We started out with 2 battle-born lithium batteries. Soon learned that wasn't going to be enough for what we wanted to do, so we upgraded to 4 lithium batteries. They're the 100 amp hour 12 volt lithium batteries. They perform flawlessly, have no problems whatsoever. We did have a very small 350 watt inverter, I believe it was, in the coach. Basically just powered the 2 TVs and another outlet. Certainly wasn't enough. So we decided to install the Victron Multiplus 3000 whole coach inverter. And thanks to Aaron Jones over at Jones into Travel, when we were in Quartzsite, he came out, helped install this. It was actually pretty simple. Once I realized, how simple it was, I probably could have done it myself, but Aaron was a huge help. So definitely appreciate that. Go check out his channel too. He's an RV tech, does all kinds of cool stuff there. So anyway, yeah, the inverter, it's been a game changer. We can power the microwave, hair dryers, whatever it is, just like we were living plugged into shore power. So certainly, definitely one of the best upgrades we made. Before we left to go full-time, I had already installed the solar panels, and I'll give you a shot of those up top here in a minute. And I had installed a MPPT solar controller from Blue Sky Energy. It's an awesome system. I just needed a little bit more power. Plus, I wanted one that was going to tie into the Victron system that I have, not only the inverter, but the BMV 712 inside. So I decided to pick up a smart controller from Victron. It's the MPPT 130. It serves a purpose right now. If I do upgrade to additional panels in the future, I'll just add a second one of those. But anyway, all this whole system talks together, which is nice. So it knows what it's doing and intelligent, if you will. So by far, the biggest bang for the buck in terms of being able to live off grid, as we are right now up here in the mountains outside of Williams, Arizona. I have sun, I have power, so it's a good thing. Here I am up on top of our rig. You can see the 4 panels. Now these are only 100 watt panels. And when I first designed this system, we didn't really have the plan to go full time. So I designed a system for the Arizona sun. So 400 watts in near constant sunlight, perfect, no problem. But when we go to areas that have overcast skies for days and days, the system is not good. But here in the bright sun, like it is here in Arizona, it works well. So some of you have asked how I installed the panels, and for the Winnebago, at least on our coach, this is a very thin fiberglass roof, and I didn't want to drill into the fiberglass and have to put different kinds of anchors in, because quite frankly it's pretty thin, and I wouldn't have gained much traction by installing screws into that thin fiberglass. So I did use VHB tape, and there are 4 brackets on each one, and you can see the sealant that I put over each bracket after I attached it to the top of the roof. I come up and do a tug test on these things all the time, and so far over a year that they've been on the roof, no problem whatsoever. Super sturdy and have no indication that they're even becoming loose at all. Standing here at the back of the coach, you can see if I ever wanted to add panels, I've got a lot of room to do that. Even here on the back, I could certainly add panels all the way back here. What I'll most likely do though is swap out each one of these 100 watt panels for 200 watt panels. And then if I wanted to add another 200 watt up here, maybe over here, or even back here, I could certainly do that. I think at least 800 watts of solar power is going to be kind of the sweet spot for us. Again, with having lithium batteries, you know, those things stay charged very, very well, and you know, our energy usage is fairly low. So I think 800 watts would certainly be sufficient. One of the biggest and most substantial mechanical upgrades I made to the coach, and this was before we started full-time RVing, and that was I went through the entire suspension and replaced or added a lot of things that make the drivability of the coach definitely improved over what it was. And any of you who own a Ford chassis coach, Ford F53 chassis coach, you'll know that prior to 2020, the coach, the chassis has pretty much been the same. They haven't made very many improvements whatsoever. So I'll do a quick rundown on all of the suspension items that I replaced. I replaced the front anti-sway bar. I added an auxiliary sway bar to the rear. Added a rear track bar that helps the coach from kind of wagging, especially when you're towing. I added Sumo Spring pseudo airbags. They're not actually airbags, but they perform similarly. Took out the old Bilstein shocks, put in new Coney FSD shocks. The ride has way improved. So as far as all of that work I put into the suspension, definitely a big improvement. Happy I did that. One last item was the Safety Plus system, and that goes on the front of the coach, connects to the tie rods, and really what it does, it helps, especially with wind. Now I just kind of hold the steering wheel in one position. The Safety Plus does a lot of the work to help keep me from, you know, the coach from going like this from side to side, you know, in the lane as winds are blowing. Similarly, when trucks pass, I get a lot less of that push from the trucks. Have the upgrades to the chassis been worth it? 100%. We'll do it all over again. Another thing I added to the coach, it's not really a suspension item, and that is Centromatic wheel balancers. I added those to all four corners, and you see these used quite a bit on big rigs. Their biggest claim to fame is that one, they keep the tires in balance much more than the typical weights do, and two, they really do extend the life of your tires. And any of you who have a rig like this know that these tires on the cheap side are $500 or $600. So anything that you can do to, you know, help keep those wheels and tires in balance, I'm all for. So that's been a big plus, and certainly would do that all over again too. Another super important update that we made to our coach. A lot of coaches come with factory installed systems these days. Ours didn't, so I added a tire pressure monitoring system, or TPMS. And so this is the monitor by Easy Tire. Super simple to set up. Interface is pretty basic. Kind of what I like. The simpler the better. And you know, this has saved our bacon on one occasion. I'll link to the video up top. But again, I think a critical item to have on any RV. So this is the monitor, and here you can see this is the sensor. So we have sensors on all four tires of our motorhome, and then also on all four tires of our Jeep tow vehicle. And again, I'll link to the video up top. You can see what happened and how this really saved our day. So wouldn't leave home without it. One of the most important upgrades I made to our rig was the installation or addition of a 4-phase filtration system. This is phase 2 and 3. Phase 4 is inside. That's the drinking fountain. And I did do a video on this, so check that out for more information. So basically a 4-phase system. First phase goes in line right after the spigot. That's just a sediment filter. This is another sediment filter here, and then a carbon block filter right here. And then the filter inside is a super good filter designed to filter for drinking water. So basically the idea is we just want to catch as much of that nasty stuff, before it gets into our tanks, and kind of keeps things much cleaner. This filter right here is a sediment filter, and I can tell you, I just changed this a week ago, and prior to that, it had only been in about a month. This thing was black and nasty. This filter was nice and clean and clear, so it's telling you that this thing is doing its job. So by far one of the best investments we made, and one of the best installations or upgrades we've made to the coach. So we'd do it all over again. One of the more recent upgrades I made to the coach is the exterior light. It had just the typical on-off switch that, you know, had to turn it on when you needed it on and off when you wanted it off. This is motion activated, which is awesome. So you can set the distance and the intensity of when the light turns on. Right now I have it set for about, I think, 25 or 30 feet. And when this light comes on, man, it is super bright and it lights up, you know, this whole area out in front of the coach. So great for security, great for super dark areas like we're in at night when there's nothing but starlight or moonlight. So it helps, you know, light up the front when we need to take the dogs out. But definitely a good upgrade. I'll put a link to that in the description below. I think it was around $40 or $50, something like that. And a 10-minute install. The hardest part was taking the other light off because Winnebago had fixed it pretty well to the side of the coach. So that takes some doing. But yeah, been working great so far. So something I would definitely do again. Another big change we made to the coach was the addition of a composting toilet. I'll link to the video above where we go through that whole process and how we did it and why we did it. But long story short, we like to dry camp as much as possible. So keeping as much fresh water on board was important, and you know, switching to a composting toilet helps us achieve that, because many of you know you waste a lot of water flushing that down into your black tank. Now we no longer have the traditional black tank. I did couple the gray tank and black tank together, so now I have just about 100 gallons of gray water capacity, which is awesome. Again, we like to dry camp a lot, so if we do run out of fresh water, I have a bladder that I can fill up, pump that fresh water into the rig, and then we can just keep doing that until such time as the gray tank combination gets filled up, and then we have to go dump. But definitely another great addition to the rig. Would do it all over again, no question. Another great addition to the rig, and one that we get a lot of questions about, and that is our internet setup. I did install a cellular router along with a standalone machine-to-machine booster. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. The great thing about this system is that it really sort of replicates what you find in your home. You have a cable modem, let's say, that then hooks into your wireless router system and then provides wireless network throughout your home. You can attach many different items to it, devices. In this case, we can attach up to 20 devices, which is great. It's better than just having a typical hotspot or using a hotspot off your phone, because you can only typically connect one device to that. So this system lets us expand quite a bit. So let's take a look at it. Okay, here's a closer shot of our cellular router and booster system. This is the cellular router here. This is the booster. And this is from MoFi. It's the MoFi 4500 4G LTE cellular modem. You can see the SIM card in the side right over here, just like much like a cell phone. Just plugs into the side, and then you connect to your network, and you should be up and running pretty simply. The great thing about this is that it has multiple LAN inputs. You can see here I have our TV connected to the T100 port, and there are 3 others as well. You can hook printers up to this, much like a home wireless router system. And basically it is. It's a cable modem sort of setup where you have in your home, and then you connect your wireless router to that. Same setup here. Cellular signal comes in here, and then this is the wireless antennas, these 2 here, which broadcast the wireless signal about 900 feet. So that's pretty good. You know, 99.5% of the time we have excellent signal. The great thing about this, though, that differs from a cell phone or some other sort of hotspot, is that you can connect up to 20 devices to this. So that makes it really convenient when you have, you know, multiple laptops or phones or whatever. It's also important to note that this type of router can only use what's called a machine-to-machine booster, and that's what this is. It's the 4G SmartTech 3 from Wilson Electronics. Connects right to the router right here as a separate antenna that connects here, and then the input from the antenna that's on the roof, I'll show you that here in a second, connects right here. This is the external antenna for the cell router. And it was pretty simple. I just ran the cable inside and connected that up to the booster. And then I also put down some aluminum speed tape to act as a ground plane, because this particular antenna needs a ground plane. I think it works pretty well. We generally have pretty good reception. And the antenna, you can get them in lots of different styles, but this one is a 15 decibel gain, so you know, kind of low, but it works great for us. What's also nice is when you're in areas where the signal is already strong, I can disconnect the booster and everything works much better. If I leave the booster connected when I'm in areas with super strong signal, it actually it works worse. So I get less signal both download and upload. So as luck would have it, the winds are starting to kick up here on the forest, so I think that's going to be a wrap for our upgrades and modifications we've done to our rig. You know, the costs associated with all of those updates between the solar, suspension upgrades, batteries and everything, somewhere around $10,000. Certainly not cheap, but well worth it to us. They make our life easier. They make driving the coach, at least for me, much easier. And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you're notified when we release our next video. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and until next time, we'll see ya.